College network. So we work in quality teams, we do a number of things, and we try to, again, have that whole team spirit, collaboration, and working together to get far more done cheaper as a group than you can as individuals. So we try to do that as much as we can. I have been very fortunate. It's been tough sometimes in that group, but I've been very fortunate to be able to have rebuilt the credibility of the institution in the state. So we have a great reputation in the state. Our community talks about us, and they always say the same thing. We're doing great things over here next school. Have you seen the campus? It's a really good campus. It's really nice. And we've grown from 1,850 students to 8,450 students in 12 years. So it's a statement that we have to use, and I said to someone earlier that we have 64 parishes in Louisiana, and our student body represents 55 of them. So, and we do not have dormitories. So we have students that are averaging 50 miles one way per year to come to that community college. We have tried to build programs that are solid and that are different programs. That, you know, we said if there's how many general studies programs do you have? How many, of the same programs do you repeat? We try to do some innovative kinds of things. So we have entertainment technology, we have video gaming development as part of that, as well as the film industry, because we need tax credits. So that's been beneficial for us. But we also have traditional theater as well. We have our Magnolia Performing Arts Pavilion that is, I would put it up against any theater in New York City because I use that to help to design it. And we had people were raving about using our theater and coming to events in our theater. But the most important part about it is that we added to the curriculum. So that if you have a course on something that may relate to what we're presenting, most of those seats will go to those classes first. So again, trying to expose students to all the kinds of things that they may not be exposed to on their own, gently pushing it into their lives, gently exposing them to different kinds of things. And then we do productions as well, and they're part of those productions. But all of those kinds of things add to a whole picture of all of this and moves you forward and gives you opportunities, and it can also expose you to business and industry as well. So we do a number of things, and I'll try to keep telling you some of the things that we do. We have partnerships with Magnolia Playmakers, with the Little Theater, which is about a mile down the road, with this big Shaw Center that's under LSU that we're partnering with to make sure when we bring entertainment, we do it collectively, we can save money. So that if you need a 300-seat auditorium, and that's an LSU Shaw Center. But if you need 532, that's Baton Rouge Community College. And we built our facilities around the same time. And I kept calling the one benefactor who was really financially supporting this, and I kept asking her, I said, which other group? How many seats do you have? Oh, we're going to have 200. I said, okay, I'm going to 300. Jennifer, you still have 200? No, we moved it up to 300 seats. So we were going back and forth, and finally just said, we're just switching 500 seats. Because it didn't make sense to build another theater with the same number of seats and not have the opportunity to collaborate. And this has afforded us that opportunity. So we have the largest venue, and that we're sitting at the table with private folks as well as with LSU to determine how we can best utilize our decreasing funds and still provide performing arts and culture for our students. So that's one example, and I have some others with an airplane coming from the Hornets, and they're donating to an aviation program that we're just developing now. And we're actually going to have an opening ceremony for that at the end of this month, and make a big to-do about that as well. And we've just been, like I said, very, very fortunate to be able to work with different groups. We have the Baton Rouge Foundation that we're about to get 50 to 60 acres of land donated by them to our institution because we are a nonprofit. So again, just working partnerships, rotaries, speaking, all of those kinds of things, and telling people to over and use it and see what we have to offer. And their kids are with us too.
If someone is having difficulty hearing, Professor,
no.
Come on down here with me.
No problem. I just
All right.
my
We
question.
would like to get amplification, so if you're having trouble, come on down.
If you need me to speak loudly, please let me know.
Okay. And our last question before we open this up to you, have you developed or implemented programs that specifically address improving student success?
As I told the other groups, we were, after Katrina hit, Lumina came to Louisiana to see how they could help. And they gave us two colleges the opportunity to have a quasi-ATD program. And we were one of those schools. So we did a combination of developmental math and our college survival course, to put them together and see if that would have an impact on student retention. And it did, and our data show that we have now closed out that program was that anywhere from the first semester, as it goes down to, as you're retained over each semester, the first semester we had a 20% higher rate in our cohort from the ATD than we had our general population. But over time, as you go through the semesters, there was a smaller distance between the two groups. But there was substantial difference after the first semester, which is critical. Because if you can keep them after that point, you have a better chance of retaining them. We have built retention and graduation into our strategic priorities since before I got there, but we have truly emphasized it and made it a point that we have to be really good on how we do this. And we have to have systems in place. And we have to make sure everyone at the college understands that it's all of our responsibility, that we all play a role in retention. So we have customer service representatives that greet you at our welcome center. We have a one-stop shop where you have to not run around to all the different places that serve you in the enrollment registration process, financial aid, they're all right there together. And then we just started a one-stop shop for the Center for Academic Success, which includes our Title III, our disability services, our developmental education courses, our testing department. It includes our general counselors and advisors for the college, so that it's on the first floor of the library, so that if you are in need of any service, you don't have to figure it out as a student. Come to this location, Center for Academic Success. We'll let you know if disability services are there. I'm sure I mentioned them, but we'll direct you to the appropriate person that you will be working with. And that has helped to save some of the running around as well. And it's been in place for a little over a year, so we won't have good data until next year. So that we're starting to do comparative data analysis on what's happening with those students as far as retention, graduation, and all of that. And then the other piece that we do is that once you get 40-some credits, we start calling. And our call centers are human beings. And we're calling to say, did you know that you have accrued X number of credits? Would you like to graduate? We can set up an appointment with you to see a counselor to work through that, to know what you need to graduate. And a lot of times what we try to do is assess them before we call them and say, you only need 4 classes to graduate. And we get you back in here to get that done. And then, of course, the other thing that's much more prominent now is reverse graduation, where people have gone on to 4-year school, and then you can give them a transfer back to the 2-year school, and then fulfill the degree there as well. So the impact that we've seen has been tremendous. We have done a graduate assessment instrument for all candidates for graduation. The first 2 years was voluntary. But this year we made it quasi-mandatory, and it's testing them on the writing and their mathematics skills. And we've scored very well with the national norms test that shows that our faculty are doing an outstanding job in the classrooms and that the students are retaining the information. So those are just a couple of things that we're doing. We have some other things in this as well.
Dr. Dorsey, there's a statement here from the Secretary of Education, Army Duncan. I want to get community colleges out of the remediation business, provide college aid to DMF students, and open admissions colleges will be overwhelmed with remedial students. You need to read that again? Okay. The question pertains to that quote, and it is, achieving the dream in single-stop USA. Can you comment on your experience and opinions of these two initiatives?
Well, I spoke a little bit about Achieve the Dream, and I think that, developmental education, unfortunately, we don't want community colleges to be known as developmental education institutions. But because we are open admissions, it's going to take time to get K-12 up to speed, and so that we don't have students who have needs of developmental education. The thing that we're starting to work with now with our K-12 is trying to get with the 9th grade students and give them the compass test. We do the compass. I don't know if you do compass or compass. To find out where they are in the 9th grade, and then work with them to try to figure out how we can reduce the number of developmental courses that they're taking. So we're just starting that, and we don't know anything. It's going to take 2 years to really get good on how we're doing with that. But at least it'll let us know, and it'll give us the opportunity to work with the teachers in K-12 to say, this is a pattern. This is what's happening. And if we can also start early on and start telling students that math is fun, I think we'll alleviate a lot of problems. Because I asked students, they said, I don't like math. And I said, well, why not? And I said, is it a learned behavior or truly do you have an issue? And they said, well, I don't know that stuff. I don't. I said, but are you afraid of math because you didn't learn the principles? Because you can get to the point where people are being conditioned that, math, and especially women, mathematics is horrible, I can't do that. But, the way we used to do things, we memorized the multiplication table, nothing wrong with that. That's how I learned, and some of you may have learned the same way. The same thing I feel about phonetics and reading. They worked. That you could figure out words and do things, figure out things on your own. And I think some of those things have to be looked at again. But until K-12 solidifies their curriculum, their accountability, I think that we're going to continue to have a large number of developmental students. And I think that with my current institution, which is not like the national norm, where the students, like the majority of the students, like 70% or so, are scheduling into 3 or more developmental courses. My students are only scheduling in pretty much 70% are in one developmental course series, and it's mathematics. And the other one, it drops off substantially. I don't know why. I talked to a researcher, a private researcher, and I showed him the data, and he says, I don't know. And it's, it just doesn't make sense. So I still haven't found out. I'm still asking other people, in fact, I meet people who are in the research area, why is this happening? Why do we're up here for developmental math and we drop down here for English and reading? So those are some of the things that, that it's not always the same case for everyone, but the majority, most schools do have most of their students scoring into developmental courses.